Later, we can find out more about these new rules and how they're going to work. We're joined by the Minister for Consumer Protection, Dearden. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on the sofa. Peter made the point that these rules will come into force in spring 2027. Why so long?
Well, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me on your show this morning. So we consulted on our work on subscription traps last year, and obviously we're introducing them next year, which is really welcome. We want to give people that time, businesses in particular, to prepare with the new rules so we can work with them closely on guidance. But I know consumers are really keen to see this in action as soon as possible.
Who benefits here? The businesses, or isn't this for the consumers? So I don't know why businesses need time to get used to this, because at the moment businesses are tying consumers into subscriptions. It just needs to stop, doesn't it? What time do they need? Why should they be given time?
So I'd argue both. Obviously, for consumers, up to £400 million a year they could save. On average, 3 subscriptions. I'm on 4 or 5 myself. So we really recognise that, that hard-earned cash that people do earn, whether you are on a subscription and you're not aware of it and it comes out of your account, how frustrating that can be. So we want to make sure that people do have more control over their cash. So these announcements are really welcome, and we want to move at pace to do that. But for businesses as well, the majority do operate in good faith and don't want to be undercut by those who, aren't playing by the same rules. So working with them on guidance, how they can make sure they can comply as much as possible.
How would they be undercut?
Because what we're doing is making sure...
How would they be undercut?
So if basically the majority act in good faith, but if businesses, aren't making consumers aware about those subscriptions, that they might not comply by the guidance, make sure it's really, really clear over the next couple of months that we've got that guidance, really outlined with businesses so they know how they can comply as much as possible. Because we want to make sure, one, it's really clear for people that they get that notice when a subscription might be coming to an end or coming to a renewal. And we've got the 14-day cooling off period as well, which is new for renewals for subscriptions. So that is a new bit of sort of legislation and policy that we're bringing in, that, if you do renewal, that you get that notice, and that if you want to actually cancel that subscription, that you can do so. But for those who might not abide by it, that you get a refund, and that we have that clear enforcement as well. So there are some new things that we're introducing on the enforcement side of things, and obviously we want to make sure that ultimately people's hard-earned cash, that they have that control, gets back in their pocket if they're on a subscription that they don't know about.
Why don't you go a step further? So if I've got this right, so I start one of these free 1-month subscriptions, which in the small print says it'll become a monthly, which you'll pay for. Mm-hmm. Why don't, under the new regulations, you have a system whereby you have to explicitly instruct the organisation that you want the new paid subscription? Why don't you do that? And then you could never get trapped. It seems to me that the onus still is on the consumer, because you're saying you must inform them that you're going to go on to the paid. If you're a bit disorganised, or you've been away, or you just kind of forgot, you could still get trapped.
So we want to make sure that, when you sign up to a subscription, that leaving a subscription is as easy as signing up. And they're sort of the foundations of our premise when we're looking at these new rules for people. So, if it's just as easy as going on an app or a website and you sign up super easy, it only takes you a couple of minutes, and that no longer it'll take you an hour on the phone.
The trap element of this is not that, though. So the current system, which I think is going to carry on, is that the companies should inform you that you're going to go out of your free to your paid.
Yeah.
So why don't you change the law, the rules around this, to make it that the organisation for whom you're going to pay, you have to explicitly have told them you want to pay? Then there could be no trap. And if you haven't explicitly told them that, then they can't take the money. Wouldn't that be a much more surefire way of making sure there's no trap?
So we want to get that balance right, and of course,
making
sure that people, do have that power and ownership to exit a subscription really easily. So whether it is, the notices and the guidances that you need to that a subscription's coming to an end, or that you don't have any sort of hidden rules throughout.
Though. I think it's different.
Really
I think consumers are being duped in a way, because what this is you are signing up to a subscription of which a certain period of time is free. It is not marketed that way. This is why Charlie, I think, is putting this question. So rather than say, this is free, and make it sound like it's a free offer, and then you can sign up. What they're doing is saying, you are signed up to a subscription, but you just don't pay for the first 4 weeks, for example. That is still duping the consumer. So if they just say, right, we've got a product, try it for free. If you like us, then sign up. That is fairer, surely.
We want to make sure that it is really clear for people, that they know exactly what they're getting into.
It's about fairness
Absolutely.
as well. And this solution or proposal doesn't necessarily offer that fairness.
I think it does offer that fairness, that people are really, really clear from the get-go exactly what they're signing up to and what it means. So, you know, whether it is a free trial for a certain amount of weeks and then from that period you'll pay, that information is really clear from the get-go. There's no hidden fees, there's no hidden rules. It's really obvious what you are getting into if you want to sign up to a subscription. So we want to make sure that is really clear, and we will be doing that throughout it.
Have you been caught out?
Yes, I have. I signed up to a free trial and ended up on an expensive year-long subscription. I didn't realise it was renewing, and if I had that notification, I think I would have cancelled that subscription. And that's happened to lots of people. You know, I've heard from others, it takes them about an hour to leave a subscription, trying to find the phone number online.
So you're saying the subscription you had, they didn't tell you?
I didn't get a reminder, no.
You definitely didn't get a reminder?
I didn't get a reminder, and that's what this legislation is going to change.
So wasn't it you missed it?
No.
It never happened?
It never happened. And that's what this legislation is going to change, so that you get the reminders, that you're really, really clear about, you know, if you're on a free trial, if you're on a particular subscription, what it means for you, really clear details of what you signed up to. And if you want to end a subscription, then you can. Because it's exactly, I agree with you about that fairness of people. You know, if you're investing in a subscription, if you want to try something out, if your circumstances change, and particularly with the cost of living crisis at the moment, every single penny makes that difference to people and every pound. So we want to make sure the rules are really, really clear, that we're on the side of consumers as part of this. And this is a really welcome announcement to make sure that ownership and that power is back with consumers.
Kate Dearden, MP, Minister for Consumer Protection, thank you very much for coming in for us this morning.
Thank you.